Rob, what's good, homie?
Yo, I haven't used that interview intro. I was hoping it would still work when I pressed the button, and I was just like, it's been a while since we've done an interview off of our weekly live show.
Yeah, no doubt. New year, new things. No,
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do some. We'll try to do some more interviews this year if the timing's right and the guests are right. To give some extra content to the people on our YouTube channel this year. And I think there's still a lot of interviews out there that we haven't done and maybe some follow-ups to some people that we've had on early life sweep the rack 5-6 years ago sweep the rack interviews maybe. So we'll have to maybe start bringing on some guests to see what they've been up to, man, because we've been doing this for almost 6 years now. Our anniversary is coming up next month, which is pretty cool. So but yeah, we have a good interview today because we're bringing on Jamie McWilliams, the TAT tournament director, the owner of the TAT. I mean, whatever title he calls himself at this point. And he's been running that tournament, I mean, 25 years at this point, 26 years. We have to talk to him about when it started, anniversary and all that. But yeah, it's an interesting interview, Mike, because Jamie started with a unique idea. And I guarantee you that he was getting a lot of negative feedback from that idea when he first started. And, his dad was the creator of the tournament. So we're going to talk to Jamie about it. But, Mike, it's a different interview because Jamie is, not a high level. He's not a PBA champion, right, Mike? He's a tournament. He's a guy who is giving the bowler something to bowl. And if it wasn't for guys like Jamie, there would probably the mega buck would be officially dead in Vegas at this point.
well,
So
that was going to be that was going to be my first point to make is that the other interesting thing to me about this particular event is that it started as an event that was one of those tandem events to the high roller, right? Everyone was going to Vegas for the high roller. Right? Let's be clear. And then there were ancillary events that took place during that same time in different bowling centers, right? That people would bowl as well. One of those events was the mini Eliminator, right? A very very famous tournament. Another event that popped up a little bit later was the True Amateur Challenge,
right,
True Amateur,
tournaments.
the TAT. So
Yep.
the original premise of this tournament was that you could only enter if you had never won a prize above $10,000.
Or there was some other stuff. There was some other items. They had a
Right.
laundry
Yeah,
list. We'll talk about
generally
it.
speaking, I think that summarized it pretty well because a lot of the other check boxes that they had, if you checked those boxes, you would have won something for over 10 grand in all likelihood. So,
Right.
um, interesting, as you alluded to in your introduction, interesting kind of concept there for a tournament. So, um, yeah, looking forward to hearing the history and obviously anything having to do with the mega buck, quote unquote mega buck family of tournaments. Is we love the
Yep.
history of this kind of stuff. So
Yeah. So let's bring Jamie on and start this conversation. Jamie, how's it going?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. How
yeah,
are you? Happy New Year to everybody.
yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks for joining us. Welcome. Thanks for giving us the time to kind of delve into things here a little bit and not only talk present day and what you guys have going on and what you're offering to bowlers out there right now in the present day, but also in terms of the history of this event and as you heard us say before we brought you on, we're into the historical aspect of things around here. It's not lost on us that that this tournament was part of that, as we said, that mega buck family of tournaments, that people would go out to Vegas on the yearly to bowl, and now fast forward all these years later, and as Rob said in his introduction, the TAT is really the last one standing, right? So definitely want to get into a little bit of the history of that, and I guess that's where we'll start. Just tell us from your perspective. What are the important historical points, I guess I would say, for this event throughout the years?
Well, we've been running. This is gonna be our 26th year doing it, and it's just one of those things. Like you said, we started back in the day when there was the high roller and the mini eliminator, and there was just lots of bowling town. Everybody would come to town. Everybody be running around to 3 different casinos, doing 3 different tournaments, and it was pretty crazy. And I thought it was going to be like that for forever. But the mini went away. The high roller went away pretty quick. Brad Edelman did buy the TAT from my dad for a couple of years when he was really sick and I was still in college. And I worked for Brad for a couple of years until I purchased it back from him. And he tried to even bring the high roller back during that time and run them simultaneously at the Orleans and the Gold Coast. And it just still didn't work out, it's crazy to me. It's like the high roller was the biggest bowling tournament in the world. Like it's still one of the greatest ever. And to see it just kind of go away and not be supported like that it's honestly kind of scary for someone like me. So I'm always looking in the long term, trying to make sure we're going to be here in another 20 years so my kids can do this, pass it down to my kids as my dad did to me. So it's been a long ride, and it's been kind of crazy to see how everything's, turned out. But I just try to keep adapting the tournament every year, every tournament. I finish one tournament, I don't do the flyer the next one. I always make slight changes and try to make each tournament just like a little bit better than the last one. So I'm always trying to update it. I'm always trying to listen to bowlers, listen to sponsors, listen to the industry, and kind of adapt it to what they want and what it needs to be. So I think that's a big part of why we're still around, and because me and my staff do a pretty good job of going the extra mile for people and taking care of bowlers. I mean, that's what my dad started it. He started it for the bowlers. The high roller payout was kind of going downhill one year, and he won a couple matches, and he didn't feel like the payout was enough. So he's like, I'm going to start a tournament for the bowlers. I'm going to give back. I'm going to do everything that everybody's always wanted out of this, out of a tournament. And I'm going to make it for amateurs. So there's going to be none of these pros coming in or none of the big shots coming in that's just going to kind of steamroll people. And oh, these guys are the favorite when you walk in the door, where at the TAT, there's no favorites. Anybody can win. And that's kind of been our slogan. And that's been the truth for 25 years almost now is, we never know who's going to win. Everybody that shows up has got a shot, and they know that. And if you bowl good, you'll make money. And if you don't, then you at least get a ball for coming out or some gear. You get some practice out of it, and then you come back next year and try it again. So it's just one of those things where we've tried to just keep adapting, keep growing, and just listen to everybody and give them what they want. So it's been going pretty well. We're bigger now than we ever have been. I think last 2 or 3 years out here, we've done 5,000-6,000 entries in like a week, like 7 or 8 days. So it's grown into something huge now. And the last 3 days of the tournament were completely sold out. Every squad, we have 200-300 people signed up for the squad. I have 200 people on a waiting list on some of the qualifying squads on Friday and Saturday. So I really need like the showboat back so I can get some more lanes, because I'm really kind of short on lanes. I mean, I could me and Brad with the military tournament, we could fill 100 lane centers, but those don't really exist anymore down here.
Question for you, and and I'm sure you talked to your dad about this, who was the originator of this event, and you mentioned Brad Edelman, and Brad Edelman, if people don't know, just released a book sort of recently about the high roller. We want to have him on if anybody out there has.
No, I got him. I had to take care of it. Don't worry.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah, I'm good friends with Brad. If you want me to put in a good word, I'll see if he can get on here. He's busy. Is the problem with Brad. He's so busy. But yeah, he's like my mentor at this point. Like for a while there, he was like my second dad. I learned a lot from Brad. I was lucky enough to learn a lot from my dad and be his shadow at the tournament for so many years.
Okay, so here's what I want to know, and you probably got perspective from them on this, I would imagine, but I want to hear your answer as to why it died. Right, I mean that's like a key question in the action bowling, amateur bowling community. Up to this point, like, why did it go away?
And the mini. I'd like to hear your perspective as a tournament director of why the mini and the high roller died. That would be
they're tough questions. Yeah, they're tough questions. The mini, I think they had some issues with like the one year, I don't know if you remember, but they had, all their prizes were guaranteed. When everybody showed up to the tournament, they had them sign a waiver saying their prizes weren't guaranteed anymore.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
I signed it. I signed it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the end of that, because bowlers the next year, like, they're not going to come if they, is that going to happen again? Like, they don't know what to expect. So For us, like we guarantee everything. We lay out the whole price fund ahead of time. You know what you're getting each round. We guarantee everything. We've done a pretty good job raising those prices over the year too. Like when my parents used to run it, you got $99 every round you advance. So it took a while to make your money back, but with inflation and everything, like I've found some kind of creative ways to increase that. So now you're getting $300 every round you advance. So, it used to be like $5.99, $6.99, $7.99 to make it through all the rounds. And now it's $500, $800, $1,100, $1,400. So you get your money back pretty quick and help pay for your trip. But yeah, I think that's, the reason why the mini went away. The high roller, that's a tougher question, to be honest with you, because Brad doesn't really have a straight answer of why it happened. I mean, he has some ideas of what happened.
I know though. I know, Jamie. I know what happened. I'm going to cut you off. I know what happened with Brad. And this is me. I grew up. I mean, Jamie, I was out there twice a year, every year for 20 some years.
You had the whole family out there. Dave was out there. Jeff was out there for a while.
Jeff was never out there. That's the one thing me and Dave always hold over his head. The guy
never. He never came out for the mini or the high roller or nothing. I thought he came out back in the day.
He got his regional card right out of like as soon as he got his pro card so quick, everyone's head was spinning.
True professional.
He was. We always gave him shit about it.
Right there. It's true professional.
Now here's my perspective, and when I have Brad on the show, I will ask him the same question. As soon as the Castaways / Showboat closed, was the slow downfall of the high roller. The slow downfall because he went to the Samstown. The Castaways and the Showboat was the high roller. Like they were like synonymous with each other, right? Like that center, you had 106 lanes, sweepers. I mean, it was the mecca of match play, the high roller, one-on-one matches. As soon as he went to Samstown and as soon as he started messing with the format, right, where you don't have your one-game matches anymore. You had your 2-game total sweeper cuts, and then you started messing with the format a lot instead of the true high roller was the 1-game match. Then the losers bracket, and they started to like flip things around and switch this and change the format and change that. I think was the beginning of the slow downfall of the high roller.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would agree with that. And people are saying like, why don't you bring it back? And you can't get people to pay $1,000 anymore to bowl 1 game. Like they're looking for more value. They're not going to come out here and do that very often anymore. I mean, some people will, but you're not going to get 2,000 people to cough up $1,000 for 1 game anymore. And that they're just looking for more value out of it. So, I mean, that's kind of what we provide. You can still win. We have like a $850,000 prize fund, almost $1 million if you count the prizes and nationals, and people can know that they have a chance at doing that. So, it's one of those things where it's a value thing, I think, more than anything, because we can get balls when you sign up. You pay $300, you get a $200 ball for signing up. You get entries into 2 different tournaments: the VIP tournament, the main event. You get 500, you make the cut, 300 more in the advance. Our progressive pot's up to like 90 something thousand. It should be 100,000 again in nationals. Matt Jones took 26,000 out of the progressive pot last tournament, so it's down a little bit, but it's still at 90,000. So yeah, it should still be good. He won 46,500 last February. He won 25,000 for winning the tournament, and then he threw 1 strike and won another 21,000 with 1 strike. And then he had the option to risk that money and throw a 2nd strike for 40,000, and then do it again if he gets a strike there to risk that for a 3rd strike for 80,000. So he could have actually won over 100,000, which would be the first time that happened in an amateur tournament in forever. But he quit after the 1st strike, which is probably a smart thing to do, and took the 46,000 and head home. But he was lined up, so I was thinking he was going to take a little bit more. I've been kind of waiting for someone to take some out of that for a while. So it was good to see Matt win. He's a great guy. He's an Arizona bowler. You guys know him real well, I'm sure. And yeah, he's really, really good. So he dominated that day.
So Jamie, I got to ask, because for the people who are listening or watching this, that let's just say don't know the true amateur tournaments, because I can't like assume everybody watching and listening knows your tournament and knows the uniqueness of your tournament, right? Your father started it, and you mentioned earlier that he didn't let the pros, he didn't let a lot of the you would call them like the sharks, right? The amateur sharks, the
Professional
pro
amateurs. Yeah.
Well,
professional amateurs.
but see, I think, Rob, you got to mention like the history again of the high roller there, right? Like that's kind of what the high roller became. It became a tournament where the Sharks were showing up to feed, and they were showing up to get in max amount of brackets. And when if you want to, I don't even know if people would be able to find this, but if you want to hear about this, go listen to our first interview with Chris Barnes, because he talks all about this, and he goes into very detailed about how 1 year they were allowed to get in max whatever they want. And then the next year they started to rein it in and tighten it up. And that's when you saw Chris Barnes, Pat Healy, and Patrick Allen, and he mentioned a couple other names in that spot too. That's when they all decided to get their cards and go pro, because that option really wasn't available that much anymore. But sorry, I just want to chime in.
Yeah.
With that.
So I guess my question to you is like, Jamie, talk about like the uniqueness of being able or being eligible to bowl your tournament. Like if you're listening right now and you're like, wow, like this is a great interview. Jamie sounds like a really good tournament director. Can I bowl? Like, what is some of the like a criteria for somebody to be able to bowl your tournament right now?
We have a pretty long set of eligibility rules. I think it's like rule 2, but it goes from like 2A to 2J. It's a pretty long list of rules for eligibility. So, but basically, if you won too much money as a bowler, or you've had a PBA card in the last year, my dad used to be a PBA card. He used to kick those guys out for 7 years. So I've slowly kind of crushed that down to like a year or two. So if you had a card in 2025, you can't bowl. But if you dropped it in 24, then you can. So no pros, you can't win 2 $20,000 prizes or 2 $10,000 prizes in a tournament that allow PBA pros. No USBC Eagles except for the Team Eagle. No regionals within the last year except for doubles, and seniors don't count. No PBA majors. So it's a pretty long list of rules. For international players, we look at their resumes and see what they've done there. But if they're a PBA player, then they can't bowl.
One of my favorite stories of the TAT, and I love this story because your dad used to, when he was running the tournament, he would have final say of who got the bowl and who did it, right? And that was part of the tournament eligibility. So it was like tournament director has final say of eligibility. And I remember one specific time, and we had McWilliams on the show a while back, where I was in line and your dad was walking up and down the tournament line, and at one time when we were at the Texas station, I missed that place more than I love that place. I used to bowl so good there. I know, but my ball matched so well in that place. I would sit there online, and I remember him walking over to Farrell, and he looked at Farrell, and he's like, "Is your name McWilliams?" And Farrell said, "Yes." He says, "Oh, you can't bowl." And Farrell just like this blank look at his face, like, well, why I can't bowl? He's just like, no, you just can't bowl. It's just, I know who you are. You can't bowl. So like, I remember we used to always say like, oh man, like you can't bowl good enough that Ed knows your name because he's gonna boot you out of the TAT. So he used to be in line, just like kind of like hiding and like not seeing like him. But that's one of my favorite stories. Like your dad didn't really care. He just didn't. He was wanted the bowlers to feel like they, like you said, like anybody could win.
Yeah, he was just trying to protect the bowlers, but he did it, and he didn't. My dad didn't have much of a filter. Like if he thought something, he would tell you right to your face. That doesn't matter. He'd walk up to somebody and be like, "I think you're cheating. I think you're cheating out there. I think you're better than what you say you are." And he didn't really sugarcoat it too much. Where I take a more, a little bit more of a positive approach to it and try to give people the benefit of doubt and kind of settle everybody down. And now we have rules. We have a really, like I said, long set of rules. So I don't have to do that anymore because I don't want to just walk the line and be like, oh yeah, I know you flew out here to bowl, but yeah, you're out of here. Like, I don't think that's the right thing to do either. But you're right. If he knew who you were, like if he's heard your name and how good you were, and all of a sudden you show up at his tournament, he's like, yeah, you're not going to take these people's money,
Jamie was the voice of reason. So like we used to like go to the tournament. There was some issues or whatever, and we were dealing with Jamie. We were like, okay, like you deal with an ad, you're like, oh my god, I just like you felt like you were sitting in front of like Judge Judy in a sense, like you were just gonna get like yelled at any minute, like man.
But yeah, he was a bit gruff, but he was just trying to protect the bowlers and do what's right by them. He was a bowler his entire life. Like he grew up bowling in Detroit. I grew up hanging out in bowling alleys, him and my mom bowling league and stuff, and me and my brother bowling league, and when we were little until we went to college basically. So, but yeah, he just didn't have much of a filter, but he was just trying to protect the bowlers, and I think a lot of people really appreciated that. Obviously, the guys that he kicked out didn't. Like he knew David Haynes he didn't really know David Haynes, but Dave, I played golf with Dave all the time, and he's like, yeah, your dad, he walked up to me, had never seen me before, and said, you David Haynes? He said, yeah. And he said, you're never allowed to bowl my tournament. So that was it. That was the end of the conversation. And he walked
like a
away.
badge of honor almost.
Yeah.
I was never good enough for your dad to kick me out. He wanted me to bowl. I was too busy donating every squad.
Well, we don't count mystery score money towards your winnings like that, so you're okay. You and Dave are still eligible.
Yo, look, the mystery score is something funny, because if anybody didn't know what the mystery score was, Jamie has this thing where you pay $10 before the squad, and it didn't matter if it was a 2-game VIP or a 3-game qualifying. And they used to sit there and pull cards and used to pull your score. If you bowled it in the second game, you'd win whatever the money, and the max would get to 1,500. And
it gets there pretty quick.
It did. And my brother, forget me, because I've won it a few times, but my brother you gave him an award for winning. Like he's the biggest
all-time leader in mystery score winnings. I don't know how. Like, he's just the luckiest dude I know. I think he's won it like 5 or 6 times, like the $1,500. He's won it more than that. So I mean, yeah. I mean, no one close to him.
Oh, and when he won, you heard it. When that number got pulled, I'd be at the other end of the bowling alley. I'm like, did my brother just win again? And it's just
well, I mean, after 2 or 3 times, he gets a little bit more excited every time. He can't believe it. But yeah, he got a plaque at our what was it, our 20th anniversary tournament. I gave him a plaque for the all-time leading mystery score winner. And so he's like, I'm gonna put this on my shelf, going to my office.
It's the first tournament. It's the first award he's won in years for bowling.
It's probably the last one too. He's not bowling anymore. But yeah, the mystery score is great because like we'll literally pay out $25,000 a tournament in mystery score money. So these are people that a lot of them aren't making the cut. Like some guy last tournament, he won $1,500. He shot 141, and it paid for his whole trip. So it's one of those things where like you can kind of get lucky and sneak out of there with some money. And then what we do is like at the end of the tournament, there's usually mystery score money left in the pot, right? So the last squad of I'm not going to take it. So the last squad of the tournament, we give it all back, whatever I have in the pot. And I think it was last July, we had $6,000 to give out the last squad. And these are people that, that hadn't qualified yet. Some of them may have qualified in that squad, but most of them had bowled, at least a few times and didn't make it. So it's great to give those guys some money to go home with. So we split it up in envelopes, 100, 200, 300, file it to $500 envelopes. We call the numbers, they come pick an envelope, whatever's in there, they win. And, it's usually like $2,000 to $3,000, but yeah, that one tournament, it was $6,000 we gave out to people so they can go home with some money.
All right. So before we get into some current day stuff that you guys are doing, just one more historical question here. Give us some of the names, because there are a decent amount of names of bowlers who bowled your tournament, did well, came in first, second, made the final round, and then kind of springboarded that and went on to even bigger wins, bigger careers in bowling. And the reason I know that this has happened is because our guy, Bill O'Neill, is one of them. And this was the first tournament, the first big event that he ever won, if I recall correctly. Again, what are the other names there? Who are the other people who have come through the TAT and gone on to even bigger wins?
I mean, it's most of the guys in the PBA Tour used to bowl it before they got their cards. Bill O'Neill, Sean Rash, Rhino Page, Belmo, Ryan Simonelli. Even one of the most recent one is Bug Kroll, David Kroll. He bowled it for years. Him and his mom's a really nice lady. She always brought him down, and I talked to her quite a bit. But it's like most of the PBA Tour used to, use this as like a stepping stone. So they wouldn't get their cards until they kind of proved themselves at our tournament that they could compete with, the best amateurs in the country. And then as those guys either won the tournament or, did very well for themselves and kept getting better, they went ahead and got their cards. But we've always been kind of a stepping stone for the PBA players to do that, which is great because I still know a lot of those guys on tour. I mean, me and Sean Rash are still friends, and David Haynes and Reinhold Page. We play some golf every now and then. He wants to get back over here. So I mean, a lot of those guys used to bowl, but it's really most of the PBA tour, except for like some of the younger guys, like Simo never bowled it because he just, he's so young. He just went straight pro when he got out. He was so good. He didn't need us to tell him how good he was or prove himself. He just went straight to the pros and started dominating. But yeah, a lot of the older pros started at the TAT, and I think Rob probably saw some of them there back when he was there. I don't know when you started bowling, but it was probably, I guess it was probably 2005 or something.
I bowled. I was going out to the roller since I think you guys started. Like I was bowling the high rollers back. I went to college in '99. I was bowling the high rollers in '98. So I mean, that was my first year like at Money, and I was at, I believe, the first year we at the Texas station. I remember though, I used to cross with a lot of like these guys that are bowling, like you said, like Belmo. I would cross with Belmo at your tournament. I crossed with him at the high rollers before he was really anybody really knew him. He was an amateur. High rev rate, had no idea where he was throwing it.
Yeah,
I'm being honest.
right.
Belmo, as an amateur, had the highest rev rate I've ever seen. One of the first two-handers you've ever seen. Had no idea where he was throwing it. He just had
so much power. He had so much power that he wasn't sure what to do with it because he was still so young and still trying to figure it out. And obviously, he figured it out pretty well for himself. But yeah, I mean, a lot of those guys, when they started, bowled our tournament and tried to, kind of use us to try to figure out, how to get better. And then a lot of them use it to get sponsored too. Because they come out here, we have all the major heads of these companies at our tournament, and it still happens today that people come out and bowl really good and they're a stand-up guy, and I'll even put in a good word for some of these guys to try to help them out if they're a really stand-up. I think they're going to be a good ambassador for the sport. I don't mind throwing in somebody's name, but a lot of guys come out and get sponsored, and then from there their career just kind of takes off. Some guys obviously aren't that lucky, but most of the guys on the PBA tour, they were crossing with guys like Rob at our tournament, and I hear stories all the time back in the day, like, oh yeah, I still remember when I was crossing with Bill O'Neill, and then I went on a pair with Sean Rash, and then over to Rhino, and so it's cool for the guys that were there a long time ago. They have that those stories, and they got to bowl with some of those guys before they got famous.
Yeah, I mean, also, like winning an event like that and putting 20, 30,000, depending on your side action, et cetera, in your pocket, it's got to help some of these guys. I mean, I know when I was 22 and out of college, if I would have won an event like that and put 30 G's in my pocket, it would have given me at least a year and a half to go and do nothing but bowl and work on bowling and go take a shot at bowling some of the bigger stuff around the country if I really wanted to. So yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense that if somebody has success at these levels, that the next step might be to go try something like that.
Well, you're exactly right too. If they get the bankroll for it, they earn enough. Even if they make enough in brackets at our tournament, because I mean, we'll pay out like 300 grand in brackets or something for the tournament. So like, even if they make enough in brackets, they can use that as just like their entry fees or their travel expenses for that year to kind of help them go there. So I mean, a lot of people do that. Chase Native has been like one of the most recent ones that have left us and joined the PBA. But there's always every year, every tournament, there's guys that tell me, hey, after this, I'm gonna get my card. Thank me for everything, for the time at the TAT, and they tell me all the stuff that they've learned, and they think that they're ready to go and see how they do on the national level. So it's just a constant thing for us. But I mean, it's great. Like I said, it's a great stepping stone. It's a way for them to learn and try to get a little bit more money, get some experience, and maybe even get sponsored.
So one of the interesting parts of the TAT, if anybody were to ever ask me how to be successful at the TAT or any piece of advice, I would tell them that every cross is completely different, and that makes the tournament hard. The patterns aren't usually like really crazy difficult. The patterns are they're challenging. You're not bowling on a house shot by any means, but since there's such a variety of bowlers that bowl your tournament, and your tournament really started as a scratch tournament and has kind of opened up now to like a handicap tournament with a lot of divisions and a scratch division. So there's been a lot of changes in that way, but you're crossing with everybody in a sense, right? Across the big bowling alley, wherever you guys are doing it. And you go from one end of the house to the other end of the house, and you're bowling a 3-game qualifying block. As a bowler, you have to really be on top of your moves when you're going from pair to pair. Like, you really need to throw those first 4 shots of every game really well, so you understand the difference in the lanes of where you just came from to where you were. But if you do find a good look at the TAT, and you don't have to have a 700 look, like you have a 630 to a 650 look, you could not only make the cut and bowl with a guarantee whatever it is 500, but you could just bowl brackets, and you could keep bowling squads and make 100 here, 300 there, break even maybe one squad, and you could keep bowling, and you could do decent for yourself, and you're not like bowling 700 every block. So like the tournament is really hard in that aspect of, though the crosses kill you. I mean, there's times when I've went 279, 269, 130 and like missed the cut or something like that. It's really common at the TAT to do that, or vice versa. Start out 140 and then go 260, 270, and you end up making the cut. So it's kind of wild how crazy the crosses are. But
well, we don't move lanes anymore because we can't. Like, ever since COVID, we've been so busy that during qualifying and VIPs, we don't move lanes.
You don't move anymore? See, this is how far up. Oh, I got to start.
Yeah, you've been there for a while. Yeah. So during COVID, we couldn't move lanes. And then we tried to do it after COVID, but our tournament grew so much right after COVID that it was setting us like, it takes about 15, 20 minutes to move lanes for each squad. But if you do that for 6 squads a day, we're behind an hour and a half, like every day. So we don't even have the time to move lanes anymore. Not to mention that people, I mean, you've seen it in there. It's a cluster trying to get to your next lane. And we had people falling over people's bags and getting injured. And like, I hate that. I hate when people come to Vegas, spend the money to come here, and they get injured or they get sick or something like that, especially if they get injured on the lanes. Tripping over somebody's equipment that should have been put away better. Like, that kind of stuff kind of bothers me, honestly. Like, I hate it when people kind of ruin their vacation coming out here to do that. So yeah, we don't move lanes anymore. You're on one pair.
See, I was thinking historically, like I'm thinking.
Yeah, we always did, but we just can't do it anymore.
Yeah. Wow.
But you're right about the brackets too. And if you get one good set, if you do shoot a 700 set, you can win thousands in brackets because there's so many people, and every squad is, most of them 200, 250 people. Like, we had 400 and something people in the challenge last year. We have to run 2 separate shifts at the South Point because the 60 lanes isn't enough for everybody. And same thing with our finals. But there's like 400 bowlers that make the finals for the TAT every year. It's 400 people. They all get at least $500 and they're bowling on Sunday in the finals. And there's so many of them, we have to split them up into different divisions because you only bowl in your division in the finals, right? And we have to run 3 shifts of the first round just to get everybody on the lanes at once. That's what I mean. I need like 150 lanes to do the finals with the 400 people because you try to put them 5 on a pair. You don't want to go more than that. And yeah, it takes about 2.5 hours just to get through the first round now in the finals.
So I got to ask this. You guys have been doing really well with entries, like really well every year. Is the idea of not bowling against PBA and like the eligibility criteria that we talked about earlier, is that like really tempting for people to show up and bowl that? You would think that more tournaments locally like would start doing something like that, shutting out the pros, and just because of how successful your tournament has been, and you have 25 now 26 years of entries to back up that argument. So and obviously you run a great tournament and it's Vegas and you guys pay a good amount of money, but is it that like eligibility that ultimately seals the deal for people to want to go out there and bowl your tournament?
I mean, I think it's a huge reason because they know they got a shot. Like, our slogan, has been for years, anybody can win. Everybody's got a shot. So they know that they're not just wasting their money to come out here. They're not like signed up for the Masters where they're just going to go get killed by, the pros. And it's like an experience for them, but it's a very expensive experience for them to go do. When they come out to Vegas, they get the Vegas vacation. They get a chance to bowl at a nice center at South Point or Orleans. they get a chance to make some big money, which they can't do really any other tournament in the country to make that kind of money. They know they're only in their division. They're only bowling against bowlers that are with their average. So I think there's a bunch of reasons, and then they get the storm ball for signing up. So I mean, you get a lot of value too. So I think all of it together is really why we're successful. We do a really good job. My staff is terrific. Like I said, they take care of people. We always try to go the extra mile and help everyone out. So I think that's a big part of it too, because we don't really do a lot of advertising anymore. Like I really don't. A little bit on Facebook and like the desert newspaper down there with her by advertising that every year. That's it. Like the rest of it is just word of mouth. And I'm a big believer in if you do the right thing and you run a good tournament, people will go home and tell their friends about it and they bring their friends back. And then over the years, that just kind of snowballed to where we were growing 40, 50% year over year for a while there. And obviously it slowed down a little bit because it had to. That was pretty crazy. We can't just keep going from 500 to 1,000 to 2,000. You know what I mean? So I think it's all part of it, and people just really enjoy their time there. Some people say they save year round for it, and this is like their major vacation of the year, which I really love to hear that they want to come and do that. But yeah, it's just one of those things where if you do a good job, people spread the word around the bowling community, and you'll just get more entries naturally.
You spoke earlier when we were talking a little history of the event about protecting the bowlers, right? And Rob told the story about your dad pulling people out of line, and that was about protecting the bowlers, right? Oh, I feel like today, there's more people trying to shoot an angle out there than ever, and we could sit here and have a whole different episode on all the angles that there are to shoot. But the one question I want to ask you as a tournament director, because I know this comes up a lot, is how do you protect the bowlers against the sandbaggers?
I was going to ask that.
Right?
It's
And he,
a
big
issue for sure.
Bowl the tournament, that's got to have something to do with it, right? Because if they think that that's a possibility, they ain't going to show up and bowl. I mean, they're just not going to do it. So and you can give me whatever the answer is, but I only bowl on sport, Jamie. I don't really bowl on a lot of house stuff because I just don't enjoy it. I'm not into that side of the game. And I have run some sport leagues in my local area and some little sport things that we've done, and they're all handicap. And I swear that, and I won't get on my pulpit right now, but I swear that when you make the lanes tougher, the handicap system works properly. And that's something that I've kind of discovered in my experience of having, I'm not going to say lower level, but like less experienced bowlers bowling on tougher lane conditions. And I know that you guys are not making them easy. I've seen the patterns that you put out. I've seen the scores. I would say that the scores are moderate scoring pace at best, with a few guys who probably have a really good look whacking them. So take that wherever you want. Like, is there something to that idea of the lanes being tougher makes the handicap work a little bit, and it discourages the sandbaggers because they can't come in and just whack them? Or are there things you have done in addition to kind of protect the bowlers from those situations?
Yeah, I mean, it's both for sure. The harder patterns definitely make it harder for people to sandbag because guys that are used to bowling on house shots and maybe they're kind of doing some average adjustments on their own when they're bowling league. They might be able to wing it on a house shot when they get on a sports shot like ours, and it's about shot making. It's about picking the right ball and playing the right part of the lane and hitting your mark. And you only have a little bit of area to work with, so I think you're right about that. The tougher patterns definitely make it harder for some of those guys because, I mean, it makes it if you're on a sport pattern, right, and you're a 170 average bowler, it's going to be really hard for you to shoot 220, 230. Like you can shoot 170, 180, and you have to bowl pretty well to do that. But, I mean, if you're going to bust out a big number, it's probably not going to be for 3 games for the first thing. It's only going to be for maybe 1 game. But the handicap has been a huge part of my job, and it takes up a lot of my time. And I've been pretty good about staying on top of everything. I rate a whole bunch of people every tournament. It's hard with bowlers coming from all over the world because I don't know all of them, but I'm also lucky enough to where I have scores for most of the guys that are coming back. We had about 75, 80% return bowlers. So I have scores in the computer for those guys. So what I do is anybody that enters the tournament with a handicap, I look up their bowl.com average, and I do it all this month. So I get the most recent averages. That way they're not like doing it 3 months ago, and then all of a sudden they're 20 pins higher when they show up, and I'm having them at 180, and now they're bowling 200. So I do it all this month. I check like 1,200, 1,400 averages myself. And I look at bowl.com, I look them all up. Then I look at their, on my database, it keeps track of all their past scores. I can look at individual games. I can look at all the years they've bowled the TAT since we got our new system in 2019. And I have a weighted average formula that I use to adjust everything. So I use their bowl.com as a base, and then I use their TAT scores as a weighted average formula based on how many games they bowled to adjust their average. So then I get a pretty fair depiction of how they bowl on our pattern. So some guys struggle on a sport pattern, and they need a little bit more help because they're just not used to it, and they're not trying to sandbag anybody. They're just not very good on a sport pattern. So they might get a few pins. If they don't make the cut, they get a few pins. If they bowl, so many games, the formula kind of figures all that out. Some guys bowl really well in a sport pattern, so they need less pins, and they get less pins. So I just kind of adjust everybody that way. And over the years, it's kind of really leveled it out. And everybody knows that they have a fair chance. And yeah, there's the occasional guy that shows up and pops off. And if I don't have scores from him before, I'm very strict. I'm a little bit more lenient on the guys that I know that I have scores for, because I could look back and be like, oh, you didn't qualify for 2 years, and then you just had a good day. But if a guy shows up and he's 180 and now he's averaging 230, now we got a problem.
Well, that's a lot of work for handicap. I got a lot of crap.
I got to do it though. I got to do it. Like, it's a huge part of the tournament, and
you have to protect the bowlers. It's the same thing. It's very similar to what your dad was doing before. It's just today it's more data based than it's more internet based. And you have to know who people are, and you have to do your homework on where people are at it. And listen, it's also tough because you also have to account for people getting better. People who are coming in to bowl your tournament, they're probably amongst the minority of people in the bowling community who are going home, getting some education, maybe getting some lessons, putting some time into their game, drilling up equipment when they come out to bowl your tournament the next time, being more prepared for what they're going to see. So, yeah, that factors into it too. But, I find it interesting to hear you say that, the more data you have on the sport patterns, the more true it is. I mean, and I stand behind that, man. I do. I think that has a lot to do with where bowling went wrong in general, because you hear so many people today complaining about the handicap and handicap systems, and some people don't want to bowl handicap, but others can't bowl without it. And, it often doesn't work. But yeah, I found that in those instances, it works a lot better. But go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, we have a division too, so the scratch guys aren't bowling against the handicap guys. We have different average divisions. There's a new 169 and under average division, 170, 189, 190 to 215. There's a senior and a scratch division. So everybody's bowling against their own, group, and that way they're not giving up that many pins handicap per game to someone. It's on a sports shot. So, the most you're giving up to someone in your division is usually like 10 pins or something like that. And then in the finals, when everybody makes the finals, we organize now everybody on the pair by their average. So on the one game finals match, you're usually only giving up like 1 or 2 pins to people that you're bowling against that are the same average as you. That way, you're not giving up 30 pins to some guy on a sport pattern in the finals. And then, you bowl pretty well, but he bowls okay and then ends up making the cut. So we do that in the finals too, which everybody really likes. We, our computer program now is set up to where it automatically puts everybody on the lanes based on their average in the finals. And then that way you don't have to worry about handicap and giving up pins so much.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, I think as a tournament director, that's really smart because you're getting all of the whole spectrum of averages of entries, right, that want to come to the tournament and stuff. Now if it was up to me, I would just get rid of all divisions and let's bowl scratch and let's roll. But I mean, I know you can't do that as a tournament director because you actually want people to bowl a tournament. I would completely put a dagger in the TAT if I was running it that way. Okay, so let's fast forward to today because I know I recently read a post from Facebook that you made last week, I believe it was, about a new like coaching program that you're going to be including into the TAT coming up here in the we call it the Super Bowl High Roller, or the Super Bowl TAT. Sorry,
Yeah, our national tournament.
The national tournament, the TAT national tournament in February. So explain what's changing, what is new. Like, yeah, give us the rundown of what you're doing.
Yeah, so I partnered with Strike Tutor to create some TAT, basically a TAT coaching division. And what we're going to do is for all our tournaments, we're going to run these coaching clinics and hope like the regionals and stuff. We're going to run them before the tournament in Vegas. We'll do some before, some during the tournament throughout the week. So there's going to be like 5 or 6 different coaching clinics on different days about different subjects with different coaches. Matt McNeil, Ronald Hickland, some of the best coaches in the country you're going to have access to. And it's going to be really cool because people now, when they come out to Vegas, not only are they bowling for this big money and this big center, but now they can actually get better. And it was one of the hardest things for me is to watch people struggle in Vegas because they spent all that money, get out there, and they're just not doing it. They just can't figure it out. So now we can get those guys some help. Anybody that wants some help, it's a pretty cheap coaching clinic. We try to make it as cheap as we can, just enough to like pay the coaches and pay the lanes and do all that. And people can get some help out there instead of just feeling like they're in jail and bowling 10 qualifying squads and still not making the cut. Now they can actually get some help for some coaches to try to have a better chance of winning some money. And if nothing else, just get better while they're out here.
And you guys will be able to bowl on the tournament pattern, like when they're coaching, when you guys are getting coached, when the guys are getting coached.
Yes, at South Point, some of it's going to probably have to be up in the center because we're pretty busy in the plaza the whole time. Some of the clinics will be in the plaza when we have like breaks to oil or in between squads. We're going to fit some in there. Some of them will be in the plaza and some will be in the center. But yeah, we'll be on the tournament pattern, so they'll be able to actually get help and get some guidance, basically, especially these lower average bowlers that don't bowl in a lot of sports shots. Like some of these guys, they come out here and they're pretty shocked on what they're bowling on. So now we can get them some guidance and some help. I mean, the Storm Crew's always been great with trying to help out with that, but like they're not on the lanes watching them throw it to give them the on-site adjustments to do that. And now we can do that, which is really cool. And then the other side of it that I'm excited about is the scratch bowlers can actually sign up to be ball reps for other people at the tournament. So you can set, like if Rob was there, you can set your own rates and your hours and days that you're willing to work. And then people can hire you to be a ball rep for them, because just like the pros do, because these guys, like I said, a lot of these handicap guys don't know where to play or what ball. They're just playing where they are at home. Most of them, they're playing, the line they played at home with the ball they use at home, or they're getting the tournament ball drilled and using that. But it's going to kind of be cool because now the handicap guys can get some help, and the scratch bowlers can maybe make a little extra income to help pay for the trip just by spreading their knowledge around to people. So it's going to kind of create this really good learning experience, I think, at the TAT, where now people know that they can actually, get some help and learn while they're out there.
So it's another, I think, important piece, because if people come out and they have a bad experience and they can't figure out why and they can't get better, then they're not going to come back. But if they can experience even a little bit of success and they understand why they didn't have more of that success, and they can go back and they can work on that and they can, get better at that, then yeah, I think there's a much better chance that person, returns to give it another shot.
Yeah, and our clientele, like these are the guys that are into bowling. Like they want to get better. Like they show up with carts of bowling balls, like literally carts with 6 3-ball bags, and they're toting them down the center. So they're spending the money and the time. Not everybody has the talent or the knowledge or the coaching in their area to kind of figure this out. So this is a way to get access to those top level coaches and just really knowledgeable guys in the industry, and kind of pass that stuff along to these amateur bowlers that are trying to get better, but they may not just have the right avenue to do it. And that's kind of what Strike Tutor is trying to do. They're trying to get more coaches on the platform to make it easier. So it's more like golf, where if you want a golf lesson, you can just go to your local course, and there's pros there at every course, and you can sign up and get a lesson. And they're trying to make it more easier to do that, because I mean, bowlers are pretty quick to go out and buy a new ball, but they're not so quick to go out and get a coaching lesson. So, I mean, it's one of those things where if you want to get better, you got to put in the work, right? And bowling is no different. But now we're trying to give those guys some just access to some help.
Yeah, I love that idea. I mean, all of that idea of the coaching, would have loved to have been able to have something like that when I was a young guy bowling the high rollers and the mini eliminators, and have access to the touring rep if I wanted, or to scratch bowlers, to get some advice, layout, surface, physical, like all of it. So real quick question before we start wrapping this up. Do you need to be signed up to bowl your tournament to go to the coaching? Like, okay, what if I live in Vegas or I live in driving distance and I feel like I would get value out of just going to the coaching seminar? Could I just do that? Or do I need to be signed up to bowl a tournament to do that?
No, anybody that wants some help, I mean, we're there. We're you know, I'm with Storm, where we're just trying to improve the sport and improve the game and help people get better. So yeah, if they want to come out and do some coaching, they don't have to be in the tournament to do it. Even like now we have a team tournament that starts off the week. I started it last year. We started a new team tournament. You don't have to be entered in the main event to bowl the team tournament anymore either. So you want to come out and just do that, or just do a coaching clinic. Yeah, I'm fine with that. And we have a new doubles tournament too. As we start the tournament off now with the team doubles. Then we have a senior tournament. Then we have sweepers on Monday, Tuesday. Then we have the Storm Challenge on Wednesday. So there's a bunch of different side tournaments that go on throughout the week. There's I think 9 different tournaments now with 9 different prize funds and formats and all that stuff in different divisions. So it's a lot of the guys from, like, I have big groups that come overseas, and they love it because they can bowl a different tournament every day, and they bowl a little bit every single day for like 8 days straight. They get the bowling balls for coming and signing up. They get some TAT merchandise. They get, you know, some discounted rooms in Vegas. So our international showing has been, you know, really, really good lately. We're getting more and more international people, which is why I'm starting that tournament in Munich in 2026. We're taking this thing on the road and going to run the exact same national tournament we have here in Vegas over in Munich in August in 2026. I'm really excited about that.
That's really cool. Yeah, I'm sure the people over there that have been traveling overseas for a while are going to appreciate the
Well, there's
less
just nothing
travel.
like that over there. I mean, everything over there, they tell me the pros pretty much win everything. And so the amateurs aren't really coming. And it's really hurting the sport over there because these guys just feel like they don't have a chance. So a lot of them are just quitting. So, you know, that's the good thing about our tournament. I think we give everybody a chance. You know, we know there's a lot of amateur bowlers in the world. They're not as good as the pros. They don't need to be competing with those guys. They don't want to compete with those guys a lot of times. I mean, the scratch bowlers, they don't mind so much. And most of the handicap guys, they would rather, you know, have a chance of winning some actual money. And that's what we're here for.
That's awesome.
Jamie, give our listeners, give anybody listening to this interview a rundown of where and when they can bowl your events. What do you have on the schedule?
So we always run the 2 megabuck tournaments a year here in Vegas over Super Bowl week and 4th of July for the last 25 years. So even on Super Bowl Sunday, you can get discounted rooms at South Point for $74 with a half resort fee. So it's one of those things where, you know, people want to come out for the holidays. They can get discounted rooms. They get, you know, they get the bowl. They get to hang out in Vegas, watch some fireworks on 4th of July, watch the Super Bowl, whatever. So we do those 2 big main tournaments a year, and then I started some more regionals around the country, mostly just like promotional stuff. I'm working with Bolero, actually. I'm partnered with Bolero. They want me to run a bunch of tournaments for them around the country next year. So I did one in Dallas already about a month ago. I did a tournament in Dallas. I did one in Pittsburgh that we do every year. But Bolero is actually trying to get more of a balance in their ideals about tournament bowling. So they want more tournament bowling in there, and I'm going to partner with them and kind of help them get that started.
And is that like, should we look for that under the True Amateur Tournament's name?
Yeah.
Or is that okay.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a TAT, like the one in Euless I just did. It was a TAT Southwest Bolero Regional. They really were impressed with everything that went on there, and they want me to do more. So, like, they want me to go to, I think, Veterans Day. I'm doing one in Thunder Bowl in Detroit next year. I'm going to travel around on some, like, the holiday weekends, like hopefully Columbus Day or President's Day, and hit 2 or 3 cities in like a weekend and do, like, you know, Detroit, Chicago, Columbus, whatever, and travel around and do that. So it's looking like 6 to 8 more tournaments are going to pop up next year, and I'm going to run around the country and get those started myself and make sure that they go off right.
Yeah, that reminds me of when the high roller was kind of near its height, I would say, and they started to have the high roller red hots at various places around the country. They were like weekend high rollers, basically.
Yeah,
Where they come
I
in,
remember
run
those.
sweepers, run an event. The winner would be crowned on Sunday, and that would be it. They'd be on their way. So yeah, that's cool, man. It's cool to see.
Yeah,
I
I mean, it's
gotta
nice that, like, I know Balero's got kind of a bad rap with tournament bowlers right now, and I think that they're actively trying to fix that. So it's good to hear that they are like interested in doing more tournaments, I think, and trying to do more of that stuff and not focus on so much open play. Like, they know that they kind of neglected that side of it, I think, and they're trying to actively fix that. So it's cool
Well,
to hear that they're trying to do
as
that.
someone who bowls at Bolero and gives lessons at a Bolero, if you have a line to them, one thing you could tell them is that it would help bowling in general and tournament bowling in general if the lights were on more often, where people could come in, come in and actually practice. That would,
Actually see what they're doing. That might help.
yeah,
yeah.
that would help tournament bowling significantly.
I mean, I
If
love
go
going at
in,
11 a.m. for global.
lights on, my goodness.
So real quick, Jamie, before we let you go, I got to ask, because you brought up the regional TAT, and I also saw a Facebook post that you put up last week in regards to some I don't want to call it some drama you dealt with for the desert region out here in my area, and I just kind of wanted to throw that out and talk to you about that post and kind of just let you speak about it in a sense.
Yeah, I'd love to explain that a little bit because it was meant to be like a really positive post, right? Like, the USBC handed down a ruling against a league coordinator at Let It Roll Bowl that was running a TAT league there, and they suspended him, and they're going to reimburse me for the funds, so that way I can get the bowlers their bowling balls that they were supposed to give the league. I'm going to reinstate their credit and everything. So it was meant to be like a really positive post, and I ended up having to delete the post because people's comments were just so negative, and I'm a pretty positive person. Like, I don't want to spread that kind of stuff around the internet, and I also mentioned the post that, like, I was going to start a tournament for the bowlers down there that on the 24th. This was something I was going to do for free. Like, I was just trying to do like a thank you for your support to the Arizona bowlers. Me and my wife were going to come down there and run it for free. I even thought about running like an expenses only tournament where you just pay for the expenses and then you can win free entries and balls and that kind of stuff. And if you want to earn money, you can pay brackets and try to win money in brackets and that kind of stuff. So it's something I was trying to do for the bowlers, and I guess it ended up creating a lot of conflicts. There's another tournament that went on there that same weekend, which I didn't even really know. Like, Stacy Anderson, thank you to Stacy for being on top of this and taking care of all the the stuff with the USBC and getting that process through and trying to get justice for the bowlers. So he called me and told me the ruling happened. I was like, well, hey, let's do a tournament for them. Let's get them their balls. I can do a tournament. They can get some practice on the tournament pattern before they come to Vegas. They can even use their TAT credit that I reinstated at that tournament, and they can pick up their equipment there and everything, and their TAT merchandise and all the stuff that was stolen. So something I was trying to do was like a positive thing for the community, and it ended up just like really backfiring on me. And I guess it created a lot of conflict. So I apologize for that. Like, I didn't really mean to stir any feathers or mean anything harmful by it at all. Like I said, I try to stay positive. There is some people were asking questions about like what happened with the DSW tournament and things like that. And I'm not going to call anybody out publicly on Facebook and like list their wrongdoings. And I don't think that's the right thing to do to anybody, myself. So if somebody really wants to know like what happened with the DSW, you can call me privately and we can talk about it. What I will say is there was some mistakes. There were some things that needed to be addressed. And from my perspective, the easiest thing to do with the DSW would have been to just sweep it under the rug, right, and let it keep running. But that's not how I like to operate. Like, I want to handle an issue. These things kind of bother me, and even like this post that people were so negative about, it's been bothering me the last couple of days. I lost sleep over it. The bowlers in Phoenix and the Arizona bowlers are important to me. They've been with my family and supporting us for 25 years. I don't want anybody to think that I'm trying to do anything to harm anybody. Employees get let go every day at jobs because they don't meet employee standards. They make customers angry. They don't make their sponsors happy enough, and that's just what happened with the DSW. It was just time for a change. There were some issues that had to be addressed. And yeah, the easiest thing to do would just be let it keep running. But people weren't happy with the experience they were getting. The sponsors weren't exactly happy, and things just needed to be changed. It was a pain for me. It's cost me a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of hassle. You know, some people aren't real happy about it, and it sucks. I'm trying to protect the Arizona bowlers, is why I did it. Like, I didn't do it for no reason. It just created a lot more issues for me. So for people that think that like I'm making this up or I did it for no reason, like I don't have a reason to do that. I'm not someone that creates problems and issues for myself. You know, like I got enough of that going on in my life. I try to keep it as problem free and just hang out with my kids and play some golf and spend a lot of time at home as I can in the office. But it's just one of those things. I had to make some changes down there, and it's unfortunate that it turned out the way it did and caused some conflict. And I just want to apologize to the bowlers that were affected by that. I really didn't mean any harm. I was trying to be a good person, do the right thing, and just kind of backfired on me online, which, you know, how social media is. Sometimes people take something and run with it. And
Jamie, appreciate that explanation and feedback. I'm sure a lot of the Arizona bowlers appreciate it too. If it makes you feel any better, though, just watch one of our reels that I post on a daily basis, and then watch the comments that people talk about me when I talk about banning the house shot or banning the handicap system. And you'll feel a lot better about what you're being said about social media, because I get crapped on every day, and I'm the one posting the reels. I'm the one clipping the reels out, and I'm getting posted. So Mike gets even blasted even more when I only cut what I want people to hear and not the full explanation, just so I can see Mike get it too.
Glad I don't run a tournament organization, because I couldn't care less about these dopes and their opinions.
Yeah, I do honestly. Like I was losing sleep over this thing because I don't want people to think that like I'm a vindictive person or I'm trying to do anything to hurt anybody, because I'm not. Like I'm always trying to help bowlers and help the bowling community. And you know, the DSW, I would hope that most people got a good experience, were treated with respect, and the tournament was run to their standards. But I also know that not everybody felt that that was true. And you know, that kind of stuff bothers me, because I want, you know, our organization to be known for taking care of bowlers, great customer service, and you know, just giving people an opportunity to bowl for some money and be fair. Because I mean, that's the biggest thing about any bowling tournament that you run. You have to be fair. And I tell people all the time, you know, they're asking about their average and why is it this and why isn't it that? And I say, hey, your average has to be fair for you and everyone else in your division. Because if it's not, then you have an advantage or they have an advantage. And it's important to me that we come to an agreement on what's a fair average for every person. And I mean, obviously I don't ask them, I tell them, this is your average. This is what I think is fair. And if they want to argue with me or give me some more information about them or their injuries or their age or whatever, you know, I'll take that into consideration and I'll make a decision on it. But I take it all by case basis. And, you know, as you were saying earlier, one of the issues with the younger kids that come to the tournament is they're getting better so quickly. So anybody, especially the younger kids, like I put them in a watch folder. I have a program in my program. There's like a watch button on someone's file. I click every squad. I can print off a list of all the people in the watch bowlers with their lane number, and we'll go watch all these guys bowl, which we do for all foreign new bowlers. If any new bowler comes in and they don't have a USBC average, but they have a foreign average, we put them in the watch folder. We go watch them bowl. And that's another way that we kind of keep the handicap system legit and try to keep it as fair as we can for everybody. I mean, it's a pain in the butt to do, but you know, it's what you got to do to be fair and just to keep this thing running. Because like I said, I look in the long term. I'm looking 5-10 years down the road, trying to keep this thing running so my kids can take it over one day and just do it for my dad. It's his legacy. It's my mom's legacy. You know, I'm trying to keep it going and keep everything as positive, keep people happy, keep them coming to Vegas, and yeah, just keep rolling along for another 20 years, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, look, as somebody who's bowled your tournament for 20 plus years, I mean, I'm a regular at your tournament. I was until I stopped bowling the last couple of years. You definitely, everything you said is true. Definitely always taking feedback from the bowlers, always trying to figure out what you guys can do better, not changing the route of the tournament, right? Sticking to what you guys, I think you guys have run the same finals format since day one, never really changing too much of the tournament, but doing enough to like help the bowlers, get them more money. So, and taking care of you guys, always taking care of the bowlers, and the customer service has always been pretty good. So that's someone just from a bowler that's done it. So Other than that, Jamie, we're going to let you get out of here soon. We're going to wrap it up. Where, if I want to bowl your tournament here coming up in, was it end of January, February? Give us your link, URL. Where could I sign up for your tournament? Where could I check you guys out? And then, yeah, we'll let you get out of here.
TATbowl.com, trueamateurtournaments.com. We have a new online registration form. It takes maybe, if you're already in the tournament, it takes about 2 minutes to get signed up, and it's actually integrated with my software. I have this really beautiful software that helps run tournaments now that even the PBA is looking at using. I've had several meetings with the PBA about my software because it's just a lot better than what they're using, and it's the best software in the bowling. So the online entry form is integrated in that. If you click submit, it automatically goes into my system. I see your entry come through. I get an email. You get an email. Everything's pretty automated now. So it's really fantastic. And you haven't been to the tournament to see it, but the average wait time in line now is about 5 minutes to get a lane or less, because our new program, we can it automatically assigns lanes. So we have a bowler card where you print out with your name and your member number, your division, your city, your state. You go up to check in, you scan it, it automatically assigns you a lane. So we have like a barcode scanner, you scan it, automatically assigns you a lane. We ask if you want brackets, reverse brackets, side pots, mystery score, whatever. We type in 5 brackets, 5 reverse, 5 forward. We click print. Your sheet comes out with your lane number, all your brackets, everything on it. So we can check in 300 people in like about 30 or 40 minutes and keep everything running on time. So it just keeps people not waiting in line in Vegas, because that was one thing that when I took it over, I heard people would always be waiting in line. I'm sure you remember how long the lines used to get at the TAT, and that was a problem that I solved pretty quickly, and now it's even better with our program.
It was a big social hour for the line. I mean, I met a lot of people.
It was a big line.
I met a ton of people online. Yeah, I mean, it's just, yo, look who's behind me, look who's in front of me. Like, you just have all these conversations about everything that's going on. So I never really minded it, but yeah, bowlers don't want to wait, especially today's cell phone. Get everything at an instant of your click, and like nobody wants to wait online anymore. But
you wait enough lines in Vegas anyway, right? You wait in line at the airport, you wait in line to get
right.
an Uber, you wait in line to get a check-in. Like, I think that they waited enough. I want people to enjoy themselves when they're here and enjoy their vacation. So yeah, we get the line down really quickly. I got great staff and a great program that kind of accommodates all that and makes it go pretty quick.
And what week and weekend is this tournament coming up here for you guys?
January 30th to February 8th. So like we're always end on Super Bowl Sunday is our finals day. So you can qualify any day of the week that we run before that, and then everybody that made the finals bowls the last day on Super Bowl Sunday.
Cool. All right, Jamie, we'll let you get out of here. We appreciate your time. Really, I always wanted to hear more about how things started and what's going on with you, because I haven't been out there in a while, but I'll get out there in the next year or two. I promise that.
Please do, man. Love to see you. Love to see you and Dave. You got to bring him back, even if he's not bowling. Bring your brother over. Bring Big Mike. And
we're trying to convince him to go, but this guy won't leave Jersey. He won't leave Jersey.
Come on out, man. Come on out. Yeah. So yeah, I'd love to have you guys out. I'll hook you up. You come out. So yeah, come out and see me, man. I'd love to. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity to kind of explain myself and talk about our family's tournament and what's going on. So thanks, guys.
Good luck with the event. We'll be watching.
Thanks, guys. Happy New Year. Thank you.
You too. Happy New Year, Jamie. Mike, you got to get out of Jersey and bowl Jamie's tournament. You should be bowling more than me. You've been
I will say, like, the ball rep thing is actually like perfect for me, because I always do claim that if I had a decent ball rep to stand behind me and tell me where to throw it, I would win anything and everything. So maybe
good idea, right?
I should go check that out.
Maybe. How about this? I'll sign up to be a ball rep, and then you could just pay me to be a ball rep.
Right? Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
No, if you're gonna pay, you want to get actually somebody who knows what the hell they're doing. Like me, I would just be like, just hit it with a 2000 and move right. That would be the adjustment. But that's a good idea. Honestly, like if I knew I could pay, I don't know, whatever it was, $100, right? And I could have Timmy Mack behind me maybe, and I'm just using him as an example, right? Because Timmy's always there at the tournaments, whatever. Oh, maybe Timmy put a rate. I'm just saying this as an example. Maybe Timmy put a rate here. I'll $150 for me to. You have one-on-one access for me for your full squad, right? Like to me, that's money maybe well spent. because if it's my first squad of the tournament, I might get a lot of like great advice to carry me the rest of the tournament, even if I didn't bowl good that one squad. But it also, be able to build relationships too. If you're an amateur bowler coming out and you've never bowled a tournament like that before, you don't know anybody. Now you have access to some really high level players to work with you, and you could build relationships, and then maybe eventually. But it's a great idea. The coaching is a great idea. I wish all this was accessible for me when I was younger, coming up and bowling and learning. But look, one of the things that I took out of the interview that I kind of didn't realize is that if you want to get sponsored, right? If you want to be on a bowl staff, if you want to do these things, and you're bowling in your local area right now, and you're somewhere where maybe you're far off the grid, maybe you're around your bowling leagues and tournaments, but there aren't these kind of tournaments, like it is a good investment for you to go out and start bowling this specific tournament, Mike, because one, you don't have to bowl against the big pros. And I love that about this tournament. You don't have to bowl against even the amateur sharks, the eagle winners. You have a chance to win. You get experience on, some harder patterns. You get access to these coaching now. You get access to some ball reps. You get access to some of the higher level executives at Storm, right? Where you could start building relationships, people, you could start making a name for yourself. And that's how you get on staff. That's how you get to get where you need to be, maybe if you want to be a successful pro. And this is, to me, this is the step, right? Like we always talk about the amateurs going to the national touring pros. This is a step towards the national tour in a sense, right? Where, yeah, it's only 2 times a year. I wish this tournament was more, but he is going to start running a lot of more tournaments in his area and stuff. But this is like a very good first step to going and maybe competing at a regional and national level.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think that if you're trying to progress through those levels, it's definitely a good place to go and test your mettle, if you will. Not only against obviously the other competition in your division, but throwing shots for significant amounts of money. Throwing shots in big spots, getting up and throwing shots when you need them in a center where you're not familiar with it, and on patterns that you might not know all that great. So, yeah, definitely one of those events. I think what was true about the high roller and the amateurs who came through that event is still true of the true amateur tournament and the amateurs that come through that event. It's sort of like a stepping stone, as talked about, like that was the high roller for a long time, right? If you were somebody who was going to be stamped as next on the PBA tour, you probably had success at the high roller, and that's how people were getting to know you and give you that kind of recognition or approval. So I think that this is likely one of same thing now for our current day. So yeah, interesting to see hear the history and see where he's trying to take things, and I hope that we all hope that tournament bowling, competitive bowling, continues to grow, continues to expand, continues to get better. But listen, in order for that to happen, there's got to be education. There's got to be, there has to be people willing to fail and get better, right? And right. I'm not so sure that we have played enough of that just yet, But
all right, Mike. Let's wrap this up. This episode will be, I think we're doing this on New Year's Day. I'm probably going to release this tomorrow or tonight. And then, if you're listening to this before Sunday, we'll be live this Sunday, right, Mike?
Live Sunday, worst of the week.
What
worst
time?
Of the year. Worst of the year we're going to do on Sunday.
Oh, God, worst of the year. We're going to have to dig that out. All right, Mike. Well, we'll talk to the people on Sunday. We appreciate everybody for tuning in to our interview series. And, we'll see you guys later.
Take it easy, guys.